Good morning, you guys. Hello. Happy Thursday. Hey, great to see you. Hey, Molly. I haven't seen you in so long, Molly. Where have you been?
Oh, just hanging out on Tiger Mountain. How are you?
Really good.
Good.
It's good to see everybody. Hey there. And see, here we go. We've got, and our speakers are joining, which is always a good sign. All right, here we go. Let's get everybody in. Shelly, how are you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah.
We just became grandparents again.
I saw your post. Congratulations. It's so exciting. She's just gorgeous. Wow. How is her older sister adjusting to being an older sister?
Yeah, well, she's 4.5, so not so much.
Yeah.
She's had 4.5 years to mommy and daddy by herself.
Yeah, that's going to be an adjustment. Oh, okay. Here we go. Let's get everybody in. So I just have to brag for a moment. Check out my mug. I don't know if all of you have seen this mug. It's my Wisdom Soup mug. And it says, I've got wisdom superpowers. Is that not the cutest thing you've ever seen? That was
wow. Where'd you get that?
I want one. I know. I had them made for our first Wisdom Soup Spirit Summit, which since we're online, it's harder to do a Spirit Summit. But yeah, but I may have to make more of these. I do actually have a little stash of them. Maybe I should do some sort of a giveaway. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. These are the cherished mugs, right? Wisdom superpowers. I think it's all right.
I don't know whether you saw, but Camille was wondering if it's going to be audio or copied. What's the word I'm looking for?
Recorded. Yes, it'll be
recorded. Thank you.
I'll definitely record it. Yeah. I'll post it.
Okay.
Here Perfect. We go, getting everybody in. And of course, we got to make sure that Jim is in. Jim just joined. How you doing, Jim? If he can hear me yet, he's just joining. And there's Nanan, hello, and Lourdes, yay, and Nydia, hey, great to see you. You guys make an amazing community. How are you, Jim? How's it going?
I'm good. I'm not on video yet, but I will in a minute.
Okay. How is it living on Capitol Hill now? Is it feeling more calm and settled? What's the energy over there?
Oh, it's been wonderful the whole time. I mean, the CHOP was an amazing expression of art and protest, and I never felt unsafe within it. We walked through it many times, given during the day. But Capitol Hill's been great. I don't know. Am I missing some news?
No. I just haven't been watching the news. So.
Oh yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, we were putting up our Christmas lights and just,
nice.
So everyone who's like seeing I think a lot of times, news organizations can be very good. They also are interested in selling advertising. And so it's always hyped up. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is hard. That's really hard.
Yeah. Love you. I'm glad I'm here. Nice to see everybody.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So you guys know we have two amazing speakers for today, both of whom are regular members of our community. So, which I love. And I thought, heading into 2021, perfect timing to take a look at the astrology and numerology for what's coming. And I believe that pretty much everybody here has been part of Wisdom Soup for a while, but just in case you're new, in case I haven't mentioned before, my name is Ann Tucker, and this is our Wisdom Soup community. And we've been meeting together for about 3.5 years now. We started in Bellevue, Washington, which is pretty much Seattle, Washington. They're like sister cities. And we are now up to, just on the meetup, we're up to about 1,000 members. And it's the idea behind Wisdom Soup is to connect all of us together. We explore all topics around spirituality and personal growth. And it's meant to be a place where you can connect and find other people who are on the same path. We attract a very high vibrational group of people. So I know that loads of people here have connected with others and formed friendships and formed partnerships. And that's to me is one of the best things about Wisdom Soup. So anyways, and then I find among us all kinds of talented people as well that I love to bring forward and have share their wisdom, because the thing that really guides me in terms of choosing topics is what sounds fun, what sounds interesting right now. And I think right now it's interesting to think about the year ahead. You know, we've been through so much in 2020, and we know coming up, everybody's talking about the solstice and this giant shift. And I know that Debbie and Jenny are going to go into it, but this isn't just a major transformation from 2020 to 2021. It's a major shift in terms of the focus of humanity. So anyways, I couldn't leave this undiscussed. It's just too exciting. I've got multiple things here. Let's just, Randy can't, let me make sure that Randy can. I'm just getting a couple of people who aren't able to get in. Randy, did you get in? Here comes Camille. Let's see here. Let me just connect with him and make sure people are getting in. Okay, just a moment here. Oh, cool. We've got Latvia is joining us from, now where are you living, Latvia? He's joining us. I know he is on the other side of the world. We have many people here joining us from around the world this time, which is really, really fun. And I will work on helping Randy to get in while we go ahead and get started with our presentation. By the way, let me know, you guys, I'm experimenting with letting us do this at 10 a.m. as opposed to our usual 7 p.m. In the past, I always did it at 7 p.m. because we were mostly a local meetup. And then we gradually grew, as Michael Sheridan helped me to put it online, we gradually grew, and it became East Coast, West Coast, and now it's grown much more internationally. And 10 a.m. seems to be the sweet spot for letting everybody participate. So if that time works for everybody, if it really doesn't work, if I get a lot of feedback, this is the first time doing it at 10 a.m., let me know. But it seems like, it's going great. So so just keep me posted if it's something if you can't ever make it. I will always do recordings, but if that turns out to be a really bad time, I'll keep that in mind. But like I said, so far, seems like it's really good. Amina says, now it's good. She's waking up at 4 a.m. to join us, so which is exactly the reason why I wanted to get it changed. So, all right. So let's see here. Now, where are you? Could you unmute and video yourselves, Debbie and Jenny?
I'm here.
Jenny, I'm Jenny Young.
Yes. Oh, there you are. You're
there
showing
you
up
are.
as Jenny Young. Okay, super. All right, you guys. So I want to introduce you guys, if you don't already know them, Jenny Young and Debbie Buss. So they are both, I think of Jenny as a numerologist, but she's also a pro at astrology. And Debbie, you maybe see her wonderful posts on Facebook where she shares her wisdom around astrology. So I thought this would be great to tap into the expertise that we have in our community, to ask them to come forward and share they got their heads together, their brilliant heads together, and thought about what's to come and prepared a presentation for us. So I'm really excited to introduce them to you. Let's welcome Debbie and Jenny.
Hello. That's
That's
Debbie.
Yes, this is Jenny. Blonde is Jenny. Red hair is Debbie. Thanks, you guys.
So Debbie, how did that happen? Is it because you went in through the link I sent you?
I think so, yeah, because
funny.
I'm sitting here panicking, thinking,
Okay. Okay, that's funny.
Yeah. Don't worry, I can beat you for tonight.
So we both do both. You know, the more we got to talking, we actually both do numerology and astrology, and we're both like information junkies. So the more we talked about what we did, she said, oh, I took that class. I said, I took that class. Oh, I took her class. I took his class. And it just went from there. So we both do both. We feed off each other.
Absolutely. So are we starting, or how?
Let's do it. You guys are
Okay, let's do it.
Let us have it.
Okay, I'm just going to start with talking about, like Anne said, this major cycle we're in. It's just like, so, you know, astrology and numerology and the whole universe is cycles within cycles within cycles. So I'll just start out with this. So it takes Pluto, just to give you a little understanding of how pivotal this is. So it takes Pluto 250 years to go around the sun, Saturn 29 years, and Jupiter 12 years. The odds of them all being aligned together are not once in a lifetime, or even once in a gajillion lifetimes. I don't even know what to call this. It's a big deal for humanity. We have been selected to be alive at this point in history. So it's a major, and we're in a, 200-year cycle, moving Saturn, Jupiter, moving from 200 years of Earth into now 200 years in air, which is huge. So, we think of Earth as fossil fuels, industrialization, coal, buildings, structures. These are Earth things. What are
Governments, banking, money.
Yes. And air things? Ideas. Connection that we can't see. Invisible things. Like this.
Internet, technology, astrology,
Right.
divination, everything.
Yeah. So that's a huge thing. And then we've got a 2,000-year cycle. We're moving from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. That's huge. I mean, we think of Pisces, all the great masters, the sign of the fish came out of Pisces. That's the Christian symbol. So this is huge. This is a very pivotal time in human history. So, it's cycles within cycles, and we're at a turning point cycle. So, I would just say this about cycles, just to kind of remove the hesitation and fear, because nobody likes change, but this is a biggie. So cycles in astrology is basically the ancient calendar, which was used long before, our current calendar that we use. Everyone respected this clock that we are in, the cycles within cycles, the cycles that influence our life. We've got cycles all the time. We have the cycles of nature, the cycles of human life, 9-month birth and death. We go from birth to death, and just look at all of nature around us, its cycles, the cycles of the sun, the moon, and these are all consistent, and we rely on these cycles. We're not afraid of these cycles. We just haven't seen this cycle in our lifetime, but it doesn't mean we should be afraid of the cycle. It's exciting. So, but anybody who's had a baby knows that transition point is not fun. It's like, I had 6 of them, and I didn't have anesthesia, because in the early 80s, it was like there was a no anesthesia push, natural childbirth. So I always knew I could get to it. And then when that transition point came, it's like, oh my gosh, how did I forget this? Transition, I'm not going to mince words. It's really not fun. But on the other side is this wonderful new beginning. So
we talked about it, Jenny, didn't we, about Pluto, that America is having its Pluto return.
Right.
And today I looked at the American chart, and in all my years of astrology, I've never looked at the American chart. And which is strange, because 90% of my clients are American. So it was funny, I was doing some kind of looking through today, and the sun sign of America is Cancer. Cancer. The moon is Aquarius, and the rising sign is Cancer. So we are a double water air. So if you look at the actual chart, you have a grand trine in air. You have also the Pluto, which is due to return, is currently at a 244-year cycle at the moment. And Pluto is in 27 degrees in the sign of Capricorn. So it's kind of like, it just got me thinking about kind of, wow, what is happening at the moment, not just America, but completely everywhere. Because whereas before it used to be, oh, whatever is happening on the other side, just let that happen. But now it's not about that. It's affecting us all individually.
Right.
Do you agree?
Yes. And for the United States, it is very pivotal because the Pluto return. So my dad has been he's 86, been a lifelong astrologer since the 70s, I would say, but it's, so he just wrote this little thing on Pluto return, and I thought it's interesting because it has deep meaning for the US, but it's pretty global too. So Pluto is eruptive. let's just talk about Pluto. Pluto's the birth, death, and transformation planet. Pluto's the excavator. It's the Roto-Rooter. So it's eruptive. It erupts or reveals the truth, whether you want to see it or not. It's affecting the whole planet, which is why we are seeing similar disturbances all over the planet. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. It represents freedom of action, lack of restraint, creativity, inventiveness, deviation from the norm, tradition versus the new, opposition to bigness, as in big governments, large corporations, institutions, which have grown to an ineffective size in the age of Pisces and are broken up into more effective, smaller units able to function by working in cooperative contracts in the age of Aquarius. Pluto is symbolizing the corruption that was hidden in the large entities and exposing it in detail. That's what we're seeing in the governments and in the religious organizations and in large organizations like Boy Scouts. And if you're in America, you know some of this stuff that's just been kind of coming up. And the end of the beginning, the collapse of the bigness, is actually when Pluto moves fully into Aquarius in 2024.
Yeah.
So then we will begin to build a planet-wide web of individual agreements among smaller unity, collaborative. So, you know, Debbie, maybe you can talk about Aquarius. What is this that we're coming into? What does it mean?
Gosh, Aquarius is basically, it's that sign that it's an air, it's a sign of air element, so it's all about ideas. But Aquarius is very different from its other two elements, where it's of Gemini and Libra. Aquarius is very much separated from the other two. It's very much detached, but it's also the humanitarian. It loves people, but on the next breath, it doesn't love people. It doesn't want to be that kind of close. But it also rules technology, it rules space, science, the internet, divination, astrology. And it can have, but I think for me, we've gone from the stage now of those bricks and mortar and kind of like buildings and foundations and governments. We're now moving into the new era where people can have a voice. Whereas before, they've never had that voice. They've always had to follow rules, whether that's from governments or, you know, local authorities. Now it's that almost kind of like freedom of speech moving in, where you can talk and you can fly your freak flag. You can be individual. You can be who you want to be. And it was funny that when I looked at the American chart and kind of looked at the numerology of the degrees of it, Sun in 12 degrees Cancer. Well, Cancer is all about that nurturing sign. It's that you know, home, family, ancestral. But then when you look at the number 12 represents education. It's a life of service, highly creative, affectionate, loving. And sometimes you have to give up something to achieve what you want to achieve. And when I think of America, it's always been that freedom of speech, being able to be who you are. And it always kind of, you know, over here in the UK, we, you know, everything, we're flooded with, you know, the US soaps. And I grew up watching American TV and all that kind of thing. So it was always that sort of, you know, oh gosh, the land of hope. And I think at the time that now what's happening, it's, as I say, the pandemic, it's not kind of just over here in the UK, it's everywhere. And I think as we move towards the Aquarian age, it is all about that humanity and kind of coming together and building those communities. And instead of the hate and all the anger, and yes, it's not going to be all joy, believe me. We have to rebuild. And I think America has done that and shown that in the past, that it can rebuild. It can fight and kind of get back together with where it wants to be. And I think, you know, there's hope. I don't see it as kind of doom and gloom. I never see anything as doom and gloom.
No, I don't either.
And anybody who has a reading with me will know that I don't see it as doom and gloom. I'm not going to, you know, mince my words, and I'm going to tell you, but I'm also going to tell you as well, you know, it's what you make of it and how you make of it. Yeah, and it's funny because the moon is in Aquarius. The American chart, the moon is in Aquarius. So it's funny when you look at the chart and it's going back to that moon, you know, and it's at 19 degrees. The moon, it symbolizes the number 19 in the ancient Chaldean is the number of the Prince of Heaven, and the heaven being the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all kind of, when I saw it, I got really excited, but maybe that's just, I'm a bit geeky when it comes to numerology and astrology.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, it's like being a Cancer sun. Cancer is a female sign. It's feminine. It's a mothering, you know, and all growing up, I was always told America was the breadbasket of the world. So there's that energy that's there permanently. So when we look at a natal chart, there's permanent fixtures in a person's natal chart. And things that go on throughout the life of that person bring in different energies, but at the core of their being, that's who they are. So even though America looks very different right now, people are not recognizing it. And maybe, you know, when we're done with this Pluto transfer, it will be more adult. I've spent, you know, I made like 7 or 8 trips to Europe, and it was really funny. Everyone around the world, especially in France, they saw Americans as the teenagers of the world. I thought, well, that's kind of embarrassing, you know, because they weren't as adult and refined. They were like, you know, kind of a wrecking ball coming through places, just because there's a certain behavior Americans have when they're in other parts of the world. So it's not just here. I mean, just loud. It's loud everywhere. Every restaurant I went into, I thought, oh, those are Americans, because they're just loud. But it's, you know, so we're moving into a time, like as a person, you know, when we have our Saturn return, we should have learned some lessons in those 29 years and become more adult in these areas of our life. So here we are as a country, America, say as a person, you know, once we get through this, there's some hard lessons we're getting through, but we will be more grown up and more adult and more mature. Hopefully, but I believe so. I have faith. Because we've got Jupiter, the faith keeper, thrown in the mix here. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jupiter is all about that expansion, isn't it? It's that job. Think of Jupiter, you think of Father Christmas, that, you know, what can Jupiter, you know, bring to you, but it can also kind of bring you too much. So this is why you've got the taskmaster of Saturn sitting next to it, kind of keeping him in line.
Right. So Saturn, so we've been in this Capricornian energy and kind of emphasizing this top-down hierarchical structure that we've lived under, and pretty much how governments and traditional businesses, corporations, has been top-down. And so Aquarius is grassroots, up from the bottom, power to the people. But old kings don't die hard. You know, structures don't. So like when we had, there's so many pivotal things I want to talk about. So we had that great American eclipse, remember, in 2017. That eclipse started in Kirkland and ended up, it went right through the middle of the United States. If you look at the path of that eclipse, directly through the center of the United States and ended in North Carolina. Okay, so this was in August of 2017. Everybody saw it. If you lived here in this country, it was amazing. Well, that was kind of a portender to what's this polarization. It just literally cut right through the middle. And interesting thing started in Kirkland. Well, the coronavirus first showed up at a nursing home in Kirkland. And I read that the first death from the corona was a person who had visited that nursing home and lived in North Carolina, and they actually died in North Carolina.
Wow.
So, you know, and there's just so many kind of outward symbols of what's to kind of look for, like Uranus. Uranus is the wrecking ball. That's the bull in the china closet, okay? So we had Uranus move into Taurus in 2018, yes. Okay, so shortly after that, so Uranus remembers radical change, and Taurus is physical earth things. So we had the burning of something that we thought would be here forever, for a long, 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 long time, and that was Notre Dame. So that's very typical Uranus. That's kind of a symbol of boom, something that you thought was here forever is, sorry, folks. So that's kind of what, and we've got that for another 4 years, I think, Uranus and Taurus. So, we have, like in our country, a president we feel like he's a wrecking ball, but, it just is, he's a bull in a china closet, that's pretty much, it's the disruptor of the energy, love him or hate him.
He's here to do, isn't he?
He's here to do what he's to do.
Yeah.
And interesting, and Debbie, you can talk more about the eclipse when we get there, but so Trump's moon, his birth moon, he was born under a lunar eclipse. His birth moon is at 23 degrees Sagittarius. On the 14th, which is a 5-day, 1 + 4 is 5, the solar eclipse is at 23 degrees Sagittarius. That is a 5. 2 + 3 is 5. So we have a lot of 5 energy, and I'll talk about that when we get to numerology. So anyways, somehow, some way, that is pivotal for him. I don't predict which way the hatchet's going to fall. But on the other hand, that is very impactful in the U.S. chart too. So we'll see. That's coming up real quick here.
Yes,
and that's the day our electoral college is meeting. So
interesting, because the number 23 is called the Royal Star of the Lion. So
right.
I always think he looks like a lion to me.
Yes, very lionic, yes.
So it's very kind of, I don't know how everybody experienced the recent lunar eclipse that we've all had on the 30th of November. That was a kind of a major kind of transformation, but that was the start of it. And as Jenny said, we have the solar eclipse come in on the 14th. Which is going to be pretty pivotal as well.
Right.
2020, it's got to go out with a bang, surely. It's not going to go away quietly. It had to kind of raise something. And then we have the solstice, don't we, on the 21st. And the only thing that's happening on the 21st is it is my birthday. That's the only thing that's happening.
Well, that's fun.
You for Dara and Saturn, it's mine.
Yes, very pivotal for you. So yeah, that's the day so all of these planets are Jupiter, Saturn are in the late degree, and Pluto eventually, but they're in the last degree, 29 degrees coming up. So that the 29 degrees, I would call that the crescendo or the exclamation point on the 2020. So whenever you get to, and in astrology, it's like a critical point. And it's just, think of a musical score. The most exciting ones are those with these crescendos. The most operas are fun. I love opera. I'm an opera fan. And it's because of all of those pivotal moments and those crescendos. And so that's where we're coming up to, is this big crescendo. And then boom, everything's in 0 degrees, new beginning. It's the infinity, the God number. It's fresh start, new beginning. So that's what we're looking at coming up here soon.
Does that crescendo, is that on the solstice? Is that the moment of switching from 29 to 0?
Yeah, well, like from the 17th to the 19th.
Yeah, it's from the 17th. Yeah, I think Saturn goes in on the 17th, Jupiter goes a couple of days later, but they actually conjunct, which is where they're both together at 0 degrees on the 21st.
Right.
They stay together for a couple of days, I think, isn't it? And then, because Jupiter is a faster moving planet than Saturn, so it will start until they retrograde back and forth. But yeah. Okay. And we have a full moon at the end of the year as well. We started the 2020 with a full moon in Cancer, and we end 2020 with a full moon in Cancer. So
a very mothering energy. I mean, this is the thing, is I feel like we have this divine protection. I really do.
Yeah.
The mother arms, the divine mother, very feminine energy. And I
felt that I know we've had this, destruction, and we've had, deaths, and it's been a horrendous year for for so many, but it had to, I feel we had to have some sort of, what can stop a united planet than a virus? Who would have ever thought of it? And
Mhm.
it had to kind of stop and for everybody to start to reset.
Mhm.
I think that's what's going to be. Everybody's wishing to get back to some sort of normality next year. And, you can't, why would you ever want to go back? It's about going forward and, welcoming the new year. And as I say, this is a president age that we're moving into that we've never seen in our lifetime. So it's all the new experiences. And as I said, we're moving into a 5-year, which is all about change, embrace that change. And I think this is what we came up with it was funny, but we both came up with the same concept, wasn't it? Radical acceptance.
Right.
And I think that is what it's all about. You have to surrender what is coming, because the more that you try to control and force and stop what is happening, then sometimes it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be, and we don't want that struggle. We want to be able to kind of just move forward and just embrace it.
We're really on a rocket ship to the future. So let me just talk about the 5 energy, because it goes along with Aquarian. This is a fast moving energy. So we're in the universal number of 5. So we take 2021, 2 plus 2 plus 1 equals 5. Last year, 2020, was a 4-year. So 4 is about boundaries. 4 is about limitations. And really getting down to essentials. That's the number 4. Kind of going within. 5-year is freedom. So I would say buckle up, because it's a fast, that's the only word I can use, because we got Aquarius and we're in this 5-year, very mercurial energy. So the number 5 is ruled by Mercury, and Aquarius, of course, Uranus, and the old ruler Saturn. But so it's a fast moving energy. So I would say, if any of you want to Google after this, Bob Dylan's song, The Times They Are A-Changin', I wish I could have played that song, because that is really, really the times they are a-changing. I'm 63 almost. I don't want to go back to my 20s. As fun as that was, I was having kids and, looking at the memories. I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to go back to my 30s. I don't want to go back to my 40s. I'm cool with this. I've got the wisdom of Jupiter working for me right now. So let's go back to the 5. So 5 is freedom. Think Wizard of Oz. This was actually a dream I had, and it made me think of this. So it was a dream of the Wizard of Oz. And I was Dorothy, and I thought, okay, that's exactly what this is. That's that kind of energy. It's like we're pulled up in this tornado, but we are going to land safely. So with a 5-year, we have no information, just like this coming into Aquarius. This is something we don't know. We don't have any information, because we've never experienced this in our lifetime. So we're now going on no information. So what do you do when you have no information? You just get in, let the wind of change pick you up. The problem is we're afraid we're going to be scattered all over the place when we come down. But we're not, because there's always a form that comes up. And that's where, Aquarius is ruled by 2. It's ruled by Saturn and Uranus. So Saturn is structured. So we're going to learn what freedom is, but it's also going to require a lot of compassion. And at 5, we're going to learn what it means to be sovereign. These are the lessons of the year 5. What does it mean to create that inner sovereignty? That's also Aquarian. 5 is learning to surf, ride the wave. It will pick us up. So you're right, we have to surrender to the change. There will be possibly changes in our currency. So as far as 5, it's also like a year of travel and movement, but for us, maybe more local travel, exploring our neighborhoods. Who can we connect with? Because 5 is mercurial. It's all about connection. Change for the sake of change, new, novel things, technological advances, new food supplies, new ways of growing our food. It's either jump or you're going to be pushed. And I had an experience of this when I was 16, where I was with a bunch of teenagers, and we're on this cliff, and the person jumps in the water and throws the rope back to the one on the cliff. And if you don't grab the rope, one of the stupid teenagers is going to push you off the cliff, which is what happened to me. Everyone kept saying, grab the rope, Jenny, grab the rope. Well, I kept chickening out. So another 16-year-old boy pushes me off the cliff. I was like, well, here I go. So that's the number 5. It's like, just go with it. This is good.
Yeah.
So any of our personal numerology, you're going to have the backdrop of that 5 universal year. So the way you figure your personal year, and I go from birthday to birthday, is we take your birthday month and year. So for me, it's February 2nd. So 2, and then the current year, 5, 2021. You just add those together. I don't know if I can. So here's an example. 2 + 2 + 5 equals 9. So for each one of us, we can look at what we're going to be, what year are we going to be. So like I'm currently in an 8 year because I'm going on, last year was 2020, it's a 4. I'm going from birthday to birthday. So I'm still in an 8 year. I'll change to a 9 year personally on my birthday. So if you can do that, quickly figure what your current personal cycle is. So I'm just going to quickly go through shortly. I'll make this short, go through each of the personal cycles. And just remember the backdrop is the 5. Freedom, innovation, and movement, and change. Just lots of change, unexpected change. So does most of us have our personal year coming up? Okay, so, but if you were, so for me, I'm still in an 8 year.
Before you go, there's just to make sure people are clear, because we got a couple questions. So first, you would take, just to add it up, you would take the month, which is, say, for example, it is September, that would be 09, so that would be year 9. Or if it's October, that would be 10, which boils down to a 1 in numerology, right? That becomes 1.
Yes.
Then you take the date. So if you have, say, your date is the 27th, you would add 2 and 7 together. That would give you 9. So now you're adding the 1 from October plus the 7 or the 9, right? So you first you boil everything down to a single digit, then you add it together.
Right.
And then for 2020, that boils down to a 5.
Right.
So you might have 5 plus 1 plus 7 or whatever. Does that make sense, everybody? Everybody got it?
Yeah.
For yourself?
So 2021 is the 5. So
Okay.
just add then reduce it to a single digit. If you come up with 2 digits, like 27, 2 + 7 is 9. That's the number. You have a 13, 3 + 1 is 4. That's 4. So
If you come up with 10, is it 1?
1, correct. Yeah. So if you're in a 1 year, and just remember the backdrop of the 5, because that's kind of important. So 1 is ruled by the sun. 1, if you're in a 1 year, make a new start. This is a new cycle of experiences for the next 9 years. So we're in a 9-year cycle. So we're in the middle. Oh, the thing about a 5, it's a bridge number too. We're bridging the last 5 years with coming 5 years. It's a bridge. Okay, so number 1, Jim and whoever else. New cycle of experiences for the next 9 years.
Into 1.
Can you tell her something? Is there something I'm doing that you can tell?
Yes. It's okay. So it's time to have courage, make plans, avoid inertia, be willing to change and advance for the sake of progress, be willing to let go of the past and take advantage of new opportunities. So this is a year of determination, taking the initiative and having clear thinking, because you're a leader this year. This is the year to be a leader in whatever area of life you want to be the leader. Take action and move forward. Don't let that little inner voice say you're not good enough. If you're in a 1 year, there's that little nagging voice like, I don't know if I can do it. I've never been a leader. Well, just do it. Go for it. You got the power of the 5 behind you. Year 2 is ruled by the moon. So if you're in a 2 year, it's a year of tact and diplomacy and cooperation, especially when things are not running smoothly. So the results are gained through sharing your power and your willingness to cooperate with others. If you try to force conditions, if you're in a 2 year, or be dominant or aggressive, that's going to lead to disharmony. So if a 2 year is a receptive year, listening and sharing. This year, if you're in a 2 year, can bring new partnerships and new friends. So don't be afraid to give up your time and to have patience in a 2 year. 3 is ruled by Jupiter. So 3 is a very creative year, a very joyful year. Inspirational, imaginative ideas, might feel like popcorn in your mind going off. Pick up those dreams and visions which flash through your mind from time to time and write them down if you're in a 3 year. Inspiration and imagination can improve your finances and friendships. It's a very social year, give expression. It's about expression and your voice too, and writing. And try not to worry too much if you're in a 3 year. It's a very optimistic year. So 4 is ruled, let's see, four, if you're in a 4 year, you can kind of feel like a workaholic this year, but it is the time to get organized and to lay foundations for the future. It's a very practical year. The plans and inspirations of your 3 year now must be put into concrete form. Stay on task in a 4 year. By this time next year, you will feel considerable satisfaction with what you have accomplished and achieved. You can lay a foundation for security and lasting conditions for your futures. And, pay attention to details. 5, if you're in a 5 year, this is, you're in a 5 year and a 5 universal year. So you've got your wind, the wind is in your sails. So again, 5 years, Mercury ruled a year of changing conditions and eventful happenings that will add life and color to you. This is a year of change, freedom from routine, and unexpectedness will actually be agreeable to you. However, there's an element of uncertainty running through the year, and you may experience a feeling of being unsettled. But overall, the year affords splendid opportunity for advancement and progress, because without change, there's no growth. Change and the new are the keynotes of this year, and be resourceful. So if you're in a 6, that's ruled by Venus. This is a very loving year. This year is a year of responsibilities, obligations, and compassion. It's a year of service, but you'll want to. It's not you're being dragged into things. You're going to want to. Service is the keynote to happiness this year. It may feel like duty, but it's an unselfish charity sense, a humanitarian. There's much you must harmonize to. This is a particular year for love and money and health and friendship. And some of these things can depart from you, but the new love and harmony is going to show up. I always think of 6, it looks like a pregnant woman. It's a very, very loving feminine number. So through expressing love and sympathy, you will gain financially through this year. And it's also, that's a Virgo, so mind the details, your day-to-day. So 7 is ruled by Neptune. This is a very important year. So much depends on your right state of mind in a 7-year. This is sort of a sabbatical year. Spend more time than usual in quiet pursuits and be interested in intellectual phases of living. It's kind of the hermit. It's going within and listening to your inner voice. Reach for more understanding of life and try to gain more intuitive insight. This may be a year of specializing in something, because number 7 is that specialization. So this is a mental house cleaning year, and you should set your mental and spiritual house in order, because you're laying a foundation for inner strength and power. Even if you experience unreasonableness from others, this is the year of having faith and building faith if you're in a 7-year. 8-year is a year of attainment. This is like your payoff year. This year, you will feel ambition stirring and a deep desire to better your financial condition. It's a business year. Feels very business-like, efficient, practical all through the year. This is a big opportunity in the year for advancement and improvement in your standing and credit. You will be called upon to exercise good judgment. So put on a fighting spirit this year. Avoid sentiment and emotion and be business-like in your undertakings. And this is a year, if you're in 8 years, your ability may be recognized by authorities. 9-year, this is the end of the cycle. If in a pregnancy, that's the year of the babies, but it's the last month of pregnancy, the year before the beginning. This is a year of completion and fulfillment. You are closing the cycle of experience. One that you began 9 years ago, leading to the beginning, is now wrapping up. Be ready and willing to let go of the old. It's like, get rid of stuff. If you want to get rid of stuff, clear out dead wood. Yeah, that will free you up. Be understanding. It's a very compassionate year. Be tolerant and forgiving. This can be one of the most rewarding years of your life. Give life a chance to help you out. It's a year to receive, and let your mind open to broader interests and larger activities. The tide of life is out. Not necessarily the time to start new projects in a 9-year. So anyway, those are. So if you're still in the previous year, so like I'm still in an 8-year because my birthday isn't until February. So some numerologists say from January to January. From the practice I have done, it's from birthday to birthday, and Debbie has seen that too.
Yeah, I was trained with from birthday to birthday, yeah.
And just to make sure that everybody got theirs right, because we have had a couple other questions about the date. Could you do, if I gave you a date, could you work it out so for everybody could watch you do it? So if I said, so one person suggested July 18th, 1961. So what would that translate to?
Okay, so July is a 7. 7 plus 18, or you can break that down. 7 plus 1 plus 8 plus 2021. So you go plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1. You just separate all the numbers. So let's add this up. 7 plus 1.
Can you hold up your paper so everybody can see?
Well, all of my blank paper is gone. Okay, here we go. Here's a blank paper. 7 plus 1 plus 8 plus 2. I'm just breaking down the whole year. Plus 0 plus 2 plus 1. So that's what it would look like. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's add this up. 7 plus 1 is 8, plus 8 is 16, plus 2 is 18, plus 2, 20, 21. Am I right? Does that come to a 21, which reduces to a 3?
3. Mm-hmm.
That person's in a 3-year.
Perfect. Thank you. I hope that's clear for everybody.
Use your calculator.
I was going to say I'd be calculator.
Use your calculator. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if anybody wanted some dates for next year. Would that help?
Yeah, let's do some dates.
Your calendar, some dates. So I've written some dates for you, and then I was going to talk about because as we move into kind of like the Aquarian age, and then we got its ruler Uranus. Uranus is very much that because I specialize in medical astrology. I always look at the health aspect, and as we move into kind of like the 5-year next year, which is very much, as I say, that fast energy, it's going to have an effect on our immune system. And Uranus is very much that spasmodic kind of sign, and it affects the nervous system, circulation, there's blood pressure, panic attacks and things like that. So the best way that when I work with clients, I always get them to kind of work with their moon sign and how to kind of nourish their moon sign. So I've got information about that. So is that something you would be interested in?
Yeah, it makes it practical.
Yeah, and because everybody kind of knows kind of like the moon, the new moon, and I've got the dates of the new moon and the full moon, so that you can kind of put those in your calendars for next year as well. So, but also when we kind of look at the dates that I'm going to be giving you, I'm going to be giving you to go into different signs. So if you look at your own natal chart, and if any of you kind of don't know how to look at your natal chart or whatever, reach out to myself or Jenny, or just go on to astro.com and put in all your details, and you'll be able then to pop up and it'll show you kind of like your moon sign, your sun sign, and the placements of this, because the dates and the signs I'm going to be giving you will relate to your own chart, but these will be transits. So they will have almost kind of like an outer effect. No planet affects you individually. It doesn't come along and say, right, okay, Jenny, Saturn is really going to take you to task today. It doesn't do that. What it does, it almost kind of adds something like a mirror effect onto us. So, and especially transits, all they do is they will add that, almost kind of like Jenny was explaining earlier about the cycles. They just add that little bit of an influence. So it's just another theme. All right, so. Okay, so the first biggie that we have to look at is the planet Mars. Mars has been, it's that planet of fire, passion. It's ruled by Aries and Pluto. And it's very much that kind of, oof, let's go, gun, get, go. And it's been in retrograde for a long, long time this year. And it never goes into retrograde as long as it has been this year. And it's gone into its own sign of Aries. Mars finally moves into the sign of Taurus on January the 7th. Okay, so in your natal chart, look where the sign of Taurus is. Taurus is representation, it's that grounding energy. It also looks at money, values, and it usually resides in the second house, but depending on where it is in your chart. We don't have, the only thing I can say is we don't have as major kind of planetary activities going on next year. I think they're going to give us a little bit of a calmer year as in that aspect, but compared to what was going on in this year. So the only real kind of aspect, the main aspect that we can all see is that there is a square. And when I mean square, it's an aspect of challenging. It's where one planet is talking to another planet and they're having a challenging conversation. And as I said before, I don't look at anything negative in the chart. It's about kind of how do those two planets talk, the element they're in and the sign they're in and the house they're in. So it all kind of adds a theme to it. So the only kind of what's happening next year is pretty much the square of planet Uranus sitting in Taurus against Saturn in Aquarius. Those two are just going to have that kind of, Uranus wants to kind of freedom of speech, let's rock this kind of boat, and Saturn's kind of like, no, let's get some order going here. So it's all about those two having a conversation. So so Uranus wants to fly his fleet flag and Saturn says, no, you've got to kind of, let's stick to it. So they are the kind of the major kind of challenges that we've got come in. So as I said, we've got Mars moving into the sign of Taurus on January the 7th. Then we have Jupiter will be moving into the sign of Pisces on May the 15th, and it will stay there till the July the 28th. Jupiter stays in a sign for 1 year, and it will sometimes retrograde back, but it's going to be staying in Aquarius for the whole of, from December the 17th until, oh gosh, I think it's December the 30th next year, and then it will move into Pisces. But at the moment, it's going to dip its toes into Pisces around May until July. Then we have a full moon in Sagittarius on May the 26th. This is going to coincide with the lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, again, May the 29th. So there is a little bit of a crossover between those two. So there's going to be some sort of kind of, and wherever Sagittarius is in your chart and the house placement, have a look at it then and see how it's going to affect you. We then have a solar eclipse in Gemini. That's on June the 10th. We also have the new moon in Gemini, and that's on June the 10th. So again, Gemini is the opposite sign to Sagittarius. Gemini is the air sign, and Sagittarius is the fire sign. So it's very much those kind of fire and air. Then we have Jupiter will retrograde back into Aquarius on July the 29th until October the 17th. Saturn will retrograde in Aquarius on May the 23rd until October the 10th. Then we have a lunar eclipse in Taurus on November the 19th. Solar eclipse in Sagittarius on December the 4th, and Jupiter moves into Pisces on December the 30th. Then I've got the retrogrades. Do you want to know the retrograde dates? because they are the kind of ones that kind of confuse everybody.
It'd be good with the ones that you guys, or that you just explained. Can you give us some sense of what the themes might be from those?
In the whole of these planets moving, or what?
Well, so you mentioned, so the I think a big one, Jupiter being in Aquarius for the whole year, except for that one pit. So, and Jupiter being so influential. Maybe take us through what that might mean in terms of influencing the year, and then how that might change in the retrograde period.
Yeah, I mean, all it does is, as I say, Jupiter is going into Aquarius on the 17th of December, and that's when it has its conjunction with Saturn. So for those two planets, they're going to be in the Aquarius for the next year. Saturn will stay in Aquarius for 2.5 years. It sometimes retrogrades back and forth, but it will stay there. So it will stay there longer. So Jupiter, as I say, is the faster planet. It'll only stay there for 1 year. So it is that theme of, it's currently being in Capricorn at the moment. And as I say, Capricorn is all about those buildings and governments and expansion. When we look at kind of Jupiter from a kind of a medical astrology point, we look at kind of what does Jupiter bring to us. Jupiter affects the liver. It affects those fatty fats within our bodies. And so it's that kind of, it loves life. Pretty much kind of, you know, it loves the kind of the fatty foods that, yes, let's go and do all these big expansive kind of thing. Jupiter wants to give you that gift. So in wherever it's going to be placed in your chart, so wherever Aquarius is going to be placed in your natal chart, it's going to have a theme. So it's, say for instance, those who were born Aries. Okay, so Jupiter is going to be affecting, and Saturn is going to be affecting your 11th house. The 11th house is the ruler of Aquarius, and it's all about humanitarian, community, working together, but also how you can build your business online and then expands it out there. So you have the luck of Jupiter there, but you also have Saturn that will also kind of keep that in line as well. So does that kind of explain? Okay, and then as we move into then Pisces is a completely different sign again. Pisces is that water element. It's the mystic, it's the kind of the escapism. It's the ruler is Neptune, so it's very much, it goes into the under and the dreams. It's that very creative sign, and but also it kind of, it needs it's quieter time as well. So we're going from an air element, which is very much out there, intellect, let's talk, let's have the, you know, these discussions. Then it's going to be moving into a water element, which is all about let's calm and slow it down. So I have Jupiter in Pisces in my natal chart. So I know kind of like how that feels. It's very much that dreamy element. So we will see a difference in how pretty much kind of this is what we're going to find is the elements will change, and you will feel that change within your bodies.
So a famous person with Jupiter and Aquarius is Einstein. So Aquarius is it's considered the genius of the zodiac. Yeah, just ideas. A lot of genius. So just a lot. So when I think of like people are saying, well, how are we going to clean up the earth? How are we going to clean up the oceans? How are we going? The new things that we have never thought of will show up. It's like if I were to take this computer and go back and show it to a community 200 years ago, they would think that's not possible. This is, you know, they'd probably be afraid of me and burn me at the stake or something. It's because it's something they hadn't thought of. You know, when electricity came out, that was very Aquarian, by the way. People were terrified of it. They were so afraid of it. They didn't want to be out. There was all kinds of articles about the terrible effects it was going to have on the human body. And, you know, people were afraid of it. And so it was just something new, novel. They hadn't thought of it yet. So like we think of what kind of energy are we going to have? Well, for sure, we're not going to have these earth energies like oil and coal. We're moving into
energies.
Different energies. You know, like the batteries are going to change. They're going to come up with new, more effective ways to make batteries, to have electric powered things. Just like cleaning up the ocean. I was reading about young people, MIT young students. They're just coming up with all kinds of ideas about these things. So, we just have to trust. There's new things we haven't thought of are going to be thought of.
Especially the children who were born in Jupiter in Aquarius. These are the ones that are almost kind of like our future. So these are the ones, I can't remember when it was back.
2009, I think 2009.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these are the youngsters that we have to kind of look forward to now, because they want to be the new and forward. And if you think Capricorn, how it affects the body, Capricorn rules joints, it rules backs, it rules skin, it rules teeth, ligaments. Moving into a different element completely, where Aquarius is that very much kind of immune system. It rules the ankles, circulation. So we kind of, whereas before everybody had like the bad back, foundations holding the world on their shoulders kind of thing. We're moving into completely different, whereas it's not that bricks and mortar where you go to work. Your job is online, and I think everything is moving online. It's all technical and kind of, I don't know about you, but if I'm on my phone all day, then it makes me kind of, I need to kind of step back from it. And so this is where we have to kind of watch our mental health as well, because it's about kind of, okay, how can we create all these new technologies? I'm still on my iPhone 8, I think. What is it? What are all these new different things? So everything is fast paced. So we have to kind of look at our health in all this as well.
And not to say that we won't be together again in physical. I mean, right now we're definitely in a time of separation. But as far as going forward in the future in Aquarius, so there's just a few hallmarks. One of them is a shift from top-down hierarchies, which is very Capricornian, to bottom-up innovation. And so progress will be made from the bottom up. A shift from big cities to smart cities and smaller communities. So communities within the cities, not that we're all going to be fleeing the cities. Communities within the cities. Aquarius thrives in communities, but very importantly, it thrives in micro communities, which can be self-governing. It is not excluded to the role of the big city or the big metropolis. These will change. We may slowly return to smaller communities within those cities where we can better take care of each other. A shift from duty to altruism. If Capricorn is duty, Aquarius goes beyond duty. The evolved Aquarian energy does something not because it is morally right, but from a place of true altruism and a genuine desire to make the world a better place. A shift from a taxpayer status to civil responsibility. Instead of delegating the power and responsibility to states and corporations through taxes or donations, Saturn in Aquarius will pass the responsibility back to us. How can we as individuals contribute to society and make the world a better place? Ultimately, Saturn in Aquarius is about acknowledging the value of humanity. Governments and corporations have taken people for granted for too long. So now human beings will get, and we'll help each other. And this is where we're going to start connecting. And we're not just going to stay online.
And it's the visionary as well, isn't it? It's a kind of not thinking outside the box. It's about breaking down that box, dismantling those boxes, and find them and we've all been in. So, like, I will say this: the caterpillar is such a beautiful example of this. Is everyone aware that every single cell of that caterpillar dies? There's not a single cell alive. It builds the chrysalis, it turns into a goo. And out of nowhere come these imaginal cells. So I call Aquarius the imaginal cells.
I love that.
And it takes its time. And if you try to break in and help that butterfly come out, it will die. It has to do it itself. And I think it's like Pluto as well. I think of Pluto, it's that kind of that phoenix rising. It kind of burns, and it's death, rebirth, and that kind of thing. And Pluto's going to be in Capricorn at the moment till 2025. So it's still got its work to do. Where Jupiter and Saturn are moving into Aquarius, and they're going to be doing their thing. Pluto still has to break down these foundations.
Right. So the chrysalis, I think of that as the chrysalis, because it won't need the chrysalis. At a certain point, the butterfly will emerge and dry its wings and fly.
And I think everybody is that feeling of the unknown, and you can't fear something that you don't know. So just kind of have to kind of just go with it and see and trust that,
Yes. Right.
The one thing about Aquarius is that kind of humanitarian. It loves deeply. It wants to help.
Right.
But it also kind of, once it's helped, then it's ready to move on.
Right.
So it's got that little bit of detachment.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. There's not an emotional attachment to the past, for sure.
No.
I mean, that's the thing about Aquarius. I'm an Aquarius, by the way. It's like, I don't, as a person, I think of us as a society, I don't hold on to things from the past. I don't save stuff. I'm just like done, over it, and I don't know. I think of like the movie Gone with the Wind. That's kind of a good theme movie for us to look at. It's like what the South knew in America. The South was the South, and there was a way it operated, and as a country we operated, and it was literally swept away, over, never to return again to that lifestyle for those people. And so, but we don't want that. We don't want that old. We want the new. It's going to be better. A butterfly is much prettier than a caterpillar. So.
And we're the same over here in the UK, and I don't know about Lofty is in Europe. We want that change as well. We want that, pushing for, I don't want to go into politics because I certainly don't want to talk about our Prime Minister, but, we want to we want that change as well. And so let's hope we can all not a case of you and us, a case of let's do this together.
Right.
So it sounds like if I had to go through the recapping, the major themes you guys have talked about, it sounds like we're in a year 5. So that seems to align like amazingly, like it almost seems to reinforce Aquarian energy. Would you say that those two are really compatible?
Definitely.
Is that an actual thing, or is that just coincidence?
I think it's a natural thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that means it sounds like we're coming out of this year of constriction. We're going to be going, sounds like next year is going to be much more open, and maybe more travel, maybe local travel, you said. Is that right?
Right.
And go with the flow, like be ready for craziness, right? Like not like, hopefully not like 2020 craziness, but ready for things to be top. What else am I missing?
Well, the thing is, if you look back in history, after a pandemic or a war, there's always a renaissance. Always. And so the planetary alignments we're in right now was actually occurring during the Protestant Reformation in 1500s. So Martin Luther was a priest in the Catholic Church. And this was no small thing, because the Catholic Church ruled the European world. It was king. And so, very oppressive to the people of the time. The people were in the Dark Ages. They weren't allowed to read the Bible. And so, they couldn't read it for themselves. They had to go through the intermediary, the priest. Well, Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses to the chapel wall, and that just blew up. It completely upset what had been. And we call it the Protestant Reformation, but it was a massive reformation on a grand scale. And it was a world reformation for the known world at the time. And things never went back to what they were, because from that spawned all the free Protestant religions. So
it was the church that got moved astrology,
right?
Because in the Renaissance, doctors had to train for 5 years as astrologers before even go into the field of medicine.
Wow.
Right.
So then it was a case of, wow, you know, and if you look at the doctor symbol of Mars and Venus, it's the same symbol that they are. So they're still using that of it, but yeah.
And Jim just added that that he noticed that after the pandemic of the 1918, right after that, we went into the Roaring 20s. So
exactly.
Yes. And Pluto was, wasn't it something, I'm sure it was something to do with Pluto then, because Pluto rules viruses and disease.
Yes. Right.
So, and I think Pluto was pretty heavy in the pandemic as well.
Yeah, I've got the astrology on all that, but and so we'd come out of World War I, so everyone was that was a terrible time for the world, really. And then the pandemic came up on top of that, the Spanish flu. And so then that ended, and then you're right. We came into, I mean, you think of the music was Renaissance music, jazz music came on the scene, and people pretty much went crazy. You know, you look at the style of clothing. We were, you know, the women had dressed in the Victorian style, everything up to the neck and covered down to the hands and the ankles. And boom, the women's skirts got real short and they just went crazy. And
I'm ready for that. I'm ready for a flapper era.
Right. Well, I know that'd be fun. Maybe. But we're definitely going to be moving into, I would say, a renaissance. And you think of all the creativity that's gone into, you know, people had to get creative this last year. Like, I don't know the last time I baked so much. I was on a pie baking spree. I picked oodles of blackberries this summer, like so many blackberries that filled up. I had to buy a freezer. I had so much frozen stuff. And then I just made one pie up. I really perfected pie making to where I feel like I should make a business of this.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I was the domestic queen.
I mean, people took on a lot of activities they never would have taken on. And there's been a lot of creativity going into this 4 year where we have felt bound up and cooped up, but we found new ways to get creative, you know. And
that's what you have to look at, I think, moving forward. And this is why I had a conversation with somebody the other day. It is about, okay, if you had a bricks and mortar building and unfortunately it had to close due to the pandemic, and as a lot of buildings here are closing down, okay, how can you now take your business online? So then you serve, you know, all of my business is online, I suppose. Jenny, is yours? Or, you know, it's about how can you adapt a business that then you can serve one to many. I'm sitting in the UK in a rainy, wet night, talking to you guys, you know, across the pond, wherever you are. So it's you know, it's the way forward, and I think it's about embracing that. And not kind of coming from that negative standpoint of kind of, oh gosh, what's going to happen to us?
Right. I know we've gone a little bit over. It's just been such an interesting conversation. I wanted to let it run for a little bit. I only scheduled it for an hour, but if anybody has any specific questions, I've been keeping an eye on the chat. If you have any specific questions, pop them in or just unmute yourself and feel free to ask. You can. By the way, if you are interested in having, because they talked a lot about how all these influences would affect you specifically on your natal chart. If you want to have someone look at your natal chart, I know, Debbie, you offer, can you describe what you offer really quickly?
Gosh, when clients come to me, it's usually I kind of, the astrology that I work on, I guess it's medical astrology, but I also kind of go back into the womb, as in kind of when you were in your mother's womb. I can look at the chart and kind of show what was happening with your mother at the time and how her trimester when you were with her affects you now in your current kind of lifetime. So we've had some really good kind of interesting kind of feedback on that. But yeah, if anybody wants to kind of like, you know, where they are now, you know, they transit. I mean, we haven't even like touched astrology is so much. I mean, about your progressed moon, you know, it's literally like, you know, it can open a can of worms. But yeah, if anybody wants to kind of know where they are now, you know, what's happening with their life or their business or their personal. I mean, everybody wants to know kind of, you know, am I going to make money? Am I going to meet the man of my dreams or the woman of my dreams and all those kind of things? You know, we can look at it, but yeah, give me, I'll put Anne's got my emails or whatever.
And what website should they go to?
The I'm useless.
Okay.
moving into the Aquarian age, I haven't even got my website sorted. So,
No problem at all. Problem at all. But let's-
I'm still stuck in this year. But yeah, they can email me or reach out, or I'm on Facebook or whatever. And
let's just put your email address in the chat. And then for Jenny, is there a way that if people had questions about numerology that they could, or astrology, could they contact you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
You know, like there's a couple of key things, and there is a site called astro.com. You can just put your information in there and you can look at your chart. And then if you don't know anything about how to interpret your chart, like if someone specifically wants to know where is Jupiter and Saturn moving in my chart right now. So you can email me if you can just, I can look at your chart and I can tell you, is it in the first house? Is it in the second house? I can tell you what area of life, and you will probably resonate exactly with if it's in your first house, it's all about you. you and you. Spotlights on you. So that's just a simple way to start is astro.com. It's probably the best free site. You can plunk in your information and just get your chart, get a look at it.
Perfect. That's super helpful.
Yeah.
So, so you guys, this is really good news. I'm so excited about a 5-year and Aquarius year. I'm so ready for it. Like jumping out of my skin. I want to go on a trip. I want to do something.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I'm ready. And yeah, I need to work off all the pies and the cookies. I need to get moving again. So this is a good thing.
Yeah.
So
I will say this. We've got a little rocking and rolling coming up with some squares coming up in January. So Debbie and I agree. It's like, we're not going to candy coat this. Okay. No. So there's especially on Inauguration Day here in the United States on the 20th, there's a few tense conversations called squares. So, but we're going to get past it. Yeah. It's like, we're going to get past it. This is all temporary.
And these are the squares that are coming up are pretty rare and powerful squares, aren't they? I mean, they're like, you don't see these kind of things for, I think the last time, wasn't it like in 1400 or 1600 for some of these?
Right. Yes.
So they're pretty major. So this could be, we could be, like you said, going out with a bang.
Right.
And most of you are familiar with some of the stuff I've channeled. And I would not be surprised if a lot of that, there's certainly astrological support for a lot of the stuff I've channeled to come to pass over the next, during this period of all these squares. But I think what's exciting is looking ahead to the 5-year and Aquarius. And I think it's really exciting. Jenny, some people are also asking for your email if they have questions about things too. If you could drop Jenny, would you be able to put your email in the chat?
Yeah, let me do this.
And I think the main thing is, get your personal year, find out what your personal year is. Once you know your sun, your moon, those elements, and kind of where in the chart, Jupiter and Saturn are going to be affecting you, and Mars. Mars is always the one to look out for. But once you've got those kind of, forewarned is foretold. So I always kind of, when I work with clients, I kind of, the one-on-one clients I work with, I just kind of map it out for them. So they have their personal kind of map for the next sort of 3 months or 6 months going forward. So at least then they know what's going on. And then they're not sort of like too shocked.
Thank you. And then one other question that just came in is do you have a suggestion if someone is interested in going deeper in astrology? Where could they go to get a great course?
Well, I trained with Deborah Silverman. And I mean, there's loads of teachers out there. I mean, I've been studying astrology for 20 years. And I've always kind of been that kind of where I've done it myself, pretty much, you self-study, to actually break it down. She does a brilliant course, and it's, she says you can you can read a chart in 12 weeks, and yes, you can. But I may be going into doing it myself next year as well, teaching. So,
fantastic.
Who knows?
Fantastic. All right. Well, if you can give Debbie a little chance to get her stuff in order, and then that would be fabulous.
Yeah, I would say Deborah Silverman. I love Deborah Silverman. She makes it so simple, and I've taken her courses too. You can actually get a lot of free things from her. If you just look her up, she puts out a lot of free information. She's got
Oh,
like,
and
a-
there's
yeah.
sorry, Jenny.
Go ahead.
Sagittarius, I always jump in.
Go
There's
ahead.
another as well, another great astrologer, Maxine Taylor. She's on YouTube and she is
Mhm.
amazing. She breaks down everything.
Mhm.
All her things are free. So yeah, you have to pay for Deborah, but I know she does kind of a lot of stuff on YouTube. But yeah, if you want to kind of, there's another one, Rebecca Gordon. She does I've trained with her for medical. She does a school as well. So there's some great, kind of astrologers out there. Just kind of see how you fit. You've got to, when you learn astrology, you've got to be able to kind of, I feel, I don't know about you, Jenny, but you've got to be able to kind of connect with a teacher.
Right. Yes.
And if you don't connect with the teacher, you're not going to learn from it. So, they're all kind of, they break it down. So yeah, have and research and look for testimonials.
I tried to learn from my own dad. He started doing astrology in the 70s.
I want to meet your dad, yeah.
But he's an engineer. He's so flipping technical. He's so long-winded, and he's just math, and I just, he talked to me for 2 hours on the phone, and I kind of whittled it down to one paragraph. So like, you have to resonate with the teacher. Deborah Silverman spoke more my language, but there's a lot of good astrologers, and there's a lot of free information. I mostly studied on my own until I took a couple of courses, but a lot of it, I felt like I was already kind of an advanced student when I started the course, because there's so much I did on my own.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we've already come from astrology.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much. I know you guys put a lot of preparation into the presentation, and it was just so helpful. It's really exciting and uplifting to think about what's coming. It really sounds like it's just the beginning of really amazing times. So it's super cool to see that reflected both in the numerology and in the astrology, to have it be all cohesive. Just awesome. So Thank you so much.
It is.
And
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
We enjoyed this.
Yeah.
And we will have our next Wisdom Soup meetup. I've got a fantastic plan in mind for the next Wisdom Soup meetup. I'll be putting up an announcement shortly. So keep you guys posted. But thank you so much for joining us. It was great to spend the morning together, and it's great to hear. It sounds like most people said when I asked that the time, the 10 o'clock in the morning on the second Thursday works well for most people. It looks like some people said that it works well while we are still, everybody's home, working from home. So we'll kind of just play it by ear and evolve, but I really do love the fact that we can use this time, makes it, like I said, much more accessible for all of our friends that we've made from other places, right? From all around the world. It makes it so that we can really be one community. So
Yes, it does.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much, Debbie and Jenny. You guys are awesome. And we'll see everybody later.
See you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.